It is the Anfield Wrap. Neil Atkinson here after Fulham 1, Liverpool 3. You can call it a relieved Anfield Wrap, Mo Stewart. I've also got Rob Gutmann and Josh Williams. Just very quickly relieved.
Yes, very relieved.
Imagine if you come in here and they hadn't it finished 1-1.
I mean, to be honest with you guys asked me to do the post-match pint and I was a little bit scared because the last couple of times I've done post-match pint, it's been rubbish. This has kind of vindicated my choice to come on this instead.
It's a smart move and long may it continue. It's a pleasure to have Mo, Josh and Rob. We are here with Green King Sport. Like every podcast right the way through this season, it's been sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. You can make Green King your destination for the season's final stretch. Every single televised Liverpool game, which is now all of them, delicious food and refreshing beverages to enjoy. There's 900 sports clubs dotted around the country, so you'll be within walking distance of one. And always the Anfield Wrap standing position is watching football is better with other people, especially when it is as anxiety-fueled as Fulham 1, Liverpool 3. So get everyone together for every single one. Get on the WhatsApps and so on and so forth. Get the app as well from Green King. There is European qualification, European football. There's relegation 6-pointers. Get the app and there's competitions and discounts on there as well. Fulham versus Liverpool then. Josh Williams, the last 15 minutes where we didn't have a shot and made sure very little happened could be my favourite 15 minutes of football Liverpool have played in ages. They just kept kicking the ball away and it was quite the comparison to what happens 5 minutes before half time when they did the absolute opposite of that, which makes me think somebody said something like that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, there was a point actually where Van Dijk, the ball comes within Van Dijk's vicinity and he just absolutely wellies it into like Rose Red, mate. And Gary Neville said on a commentary like, Van Dijk's in no nonsense mode here. It felt like that's what happened, like. But I thought it was a weird game, you know. I really thought it was a weird game. I looking back at it, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be a downer, but I don't know how well we played. I feel like it was just like one of them games where I was saying to Mo before we came in, just if you can get your finishing right and you can score goals, people will immediately just feel so much better, even about certain individuals if they find the net, as opposed to hitting the post, 5 yards, 5 inches to the other way or something like that. The narrative just switches completely. But I think Liverpool were just, obviously a heavy rotated side. And I suppose the way we managed that was relatively impressive. Winning by 2 goals and not going behind at any point, crucially. But I thought the overall performance was like arguably worse than some of the games we've had recently. We just had the goals this time around, and obviously they decide games.
The scoreboard works in Liverpool's favour through the game, Mo. Even, and we will come on to it, that patch before half time when they did drive you mad. The scoreboard's still in our favour. That patch is not happening at 0-0. It's happening at 1-0 at least. And that just makes a massive, massive difference. The scoreboard is in Liverpool's favour. They get it into their favour. They keep it that way. And they keep it that way in 2 different stretches.
Yeah, and I think that was clearly the priority for me. Like, I think in terms of the overall performance, I'm looking at it in the context of where we are. And where we are is we're in a funk and have been in a funk for a considerable amount of time. Long enough to mean that you aren't going to instantly snap back into looking like world beaters again. It's been that long, you've got to build it back slowly. And it reminded me of some of the better performances, some of the better results from last season. I think of maybe the Wolves away in the Cup, where it's a bit of a weird game and you struggle to think that it was a positive, but we actually come out there and we did what we needed to do and we got out with a win. And we allowed that win to help us build on for the next one. And I think that's the mode we're in at the moment. Atalanta, we were all disappointed in the away game that they didn't fight hard enough for the result and the tie, but Jurgen Klopp was very much like, we won that game 1-0, that's good. We can go on and be better the next time. And you could sense that in a lot of what we were doing. And the last 50 minutes in which you mentioned, where it was very much like we're more important that this ends Fulham 1 than it ends Liverpool 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's kind of where I'm at. I want us to be more solid. I want us to be harder to play against, because I think that's where we're at our best. And as much as there are lots of things about that performance that don't look like the Liverpool of us in a pomp, the fact that we were able to be solid, committed and compact for a lot of the time allowed us to kind of build from here. So I'm all right with it.
I'm more than all right with it. It's a game of 2 halves, Rob, and it's almost a second half of 2 halves as well in and of itself. I think the manager must have had a brilliant half time, or the players have with him, because Fulham come out and Fulham had 5 shots from the 38th minute. One of them goes in. The other one's the Mooney's header, which Quansah does well to get in front of. So from 38 to 47 in the first half, they have 5 shots. Fulham don't have another shot until the 83rd minute. And that to me I think that's remarkably impressive. You're on their ground. They're a team who are very, very good, that if you give them an inch, they take a mile. That's what we've all said before a ball was kicked in this one. And second half, Liverpool, whilst they weren't themselves unbelievably creative and free-flowing, they get the goal on 53. And it's then, as I say, literally 30 minutes elapse after it goes 2-1, without even talking about the goal to make it 3-1. 30 minutes elapsed before Fulham managed to muster a shot on their own ground, and that was a free kick. It wasn't a shot from open play or anything like that. For me, that is a good second half performance.
Yeah, I don't think the first half performance is too shabby either. I just think we get in our own heads, and Fulham sense that, and we have that horrible 7. Well, it's not even that horrible, a 7 minutes, but it is horrible enough that they get their goal. I do wonder if we'd ridden that little bit of bad luck we have. It takes a few things to go their way for their goal to go in.
Yeah, if Castagna just drills it onto the post, for instance.
Yeah. And you know what? When we got up the other end and scored, it could have been 2-0 half-time. We had chances in that first half. I thought some of our football was really, really good. The context is always important. It's important to start with. Is not only was it a team in a bad place, much of that side, if you look at it objectively from day one of the season, you say, well, by match day 33, you're putting that side out. You're going, that's a fucking League Cup team. What, are we out the race for the title or what? Having said that, Klopp has form for this. In the season where we're chasing the quadruple, we go to Southampton and he puts out one mother of a League Cup team, doesn't he? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Minamino's leading the line and
he scores.
Yeah, and I somehow felt, as the team dropped, I thought, it's a bit of a League Cup team. He has to do it for legs. He does have to do that. We played a lot of players in consecutive games here. He has to do it for legs. He does do this. He tends to be vindicated. But also it enabled him to send out a subtle, ambiguous message, I think, to one or two. To say, well, I might be resting you. I might just think you're not playing well enough. And that includes our best player, by the way, Mo Salah. No, he was rested, I've no doubt about it. I've no doubt that he's thinking, rest him for this one, he'll definitely start the next 2. Nunez also falls into that category, maybe even more so. McAllister doesn't fall into that category, but again, it just shows the quality we had on that bench was ridiculous. I know you're going to talk about it later, but the fact that we didn't even feel we needed to use it was perhaps the best thing that happened today. First time in a long time I haven't thought, for fuck's sake, Jurgen, get him on. Oh, mind you, at half time I was bringing everyone on. But let's gloss over that. Very bad 15.
We'll come back onto it. We will come back to it. No, yeah, we'll come back to it. It was, not just me and you, honestly. I've never...
The world.
Honestly, it always sounds like a bit of a bellend thing to say, but honestly, my WhatsApps were ablaze with people who were furious Liverpool couldn't just do their own goal kick.
Should we read our WhatsApps?
Oh, God. It was, honestly, I'm just glad I wasn't with Ben Johnson, as I think he might have just strangled someone just to see it through, just to get through the 15 at half time, to be honest with you.
Can I just give an aside about this first half? I don't think you've got it in the agenda that came out from the manager, which fascinated me. A classic example of when supporters lose it and they don't know actually what's going on is the Harvey Elliott free kick. Right?
Yeah.
I fucking lost it with that when he hit that free kick into the wall. Firstly, I wanted Trent to take it. It looked set for Trent. And then secondly, Harvey takes it badly. Well, or so it seemed. Jurgen said after the event that they'd studied Fulham's wall, jumping very, very high.
Yeah.
And the brief for Harvey was trick him and go under the wall. But if he doesn't come off, you look absolutely ridiculous. But there's a classic example of how supporters don't know.
I sort of presumed that was the case, but it was still crap.
Yeah. Oh, of course you did.
No, I just thought he's trying to go under the wall. Yeah, that was what he was trying to do.
The problem with trying to go under the wall is that there is no middle ground.
Why are we talking about going under the wall? No one gives a fuck. The other free kick was amazing.
No, but what I mean is I think there's a general mood that that was a bad decision, but it clearly was a very, very clever decision.
Well, they'd worked. They thought about it.
Yeah.
They thought. They could also. Trent can also kick it low. Would be one of my notes. He's kicked it low. I've seen him kick it low.
I think it's that everyone expected Trent as well. So.
No, anyway. Absolutely. Anyway,
digression.
Quite so. It's a mad thing to say, Josh, but it almost feels a little because of what they get themselves into in the sort of the 4 or 5 minutes before half time. And then what doesn't happen in the second half of the first half, it feels like a bit of a mad thing to say 33 games in, but you almost feel like it may well just prove to be a bit of an important lesson in the long run, where it's absolutely fine at this stage of the season to have 10 minutes of stinking the gaff out if it gets you in to half time if it gets you into full time ahead. And second half they do that. First half they don't. And I think that there's maybe been a little bit of this side constantly wanting to play a teeny bit too much and getting punished for it. And I love the difference between those two passages of play that you get to see in the first and second half.
Yeah, I think throughout the season there's been a lot of almost learning on the fly from this team and doing things on the fly as well. I think a lot more so than Arsenal, a lot more so than Manchester City. And I think in certain periods as well, that's benefited us because we've scored the odd goal from outside the box and things like that. It feels like City and Arsenal are so controlled that those sorts of things just don't really come into their game. It's kind of perfect or it's not. Whereas Liverpool seems to be able to do it in a bit of an imperfect way. And I think the first half, we end the first half in a certain way. Second half, we kind of learn from that towards the end and maybe do the opposite. But it is a strange team. I must admit, there will be an element of pinching myself if this team wins the league, because throughout the season there has been a mad side. I remember up until February, mate, when I was saying I still don't know how good this team is, and we've got a 10-point lead, mate. It's difficult to determine what this team is doing at times, but the ability to get over the line and deliver with these moments, especially, and you've got elite players everywhere, by the way, with Jota, picking up with moments, and Trent scoring free kicks, Alisson in goal, making saves, Virgil at the back. It is a great unit of players. It's just a bit on the fly sometimes, but I think that's one of the reasons we love this team.
I just think as well, the difference between us and Arsenal, Man City, and we have to keep reiterating it, is we entirely changed our midfield. And if you go back to last season, we were all talking every week about how important the midfield is, was the reason why it wasn't working, and how we were hoping that as soon as we get it working again, everyone else will start looking good. Yes, they were, and yes, they did for a lot of the season, but they are still new. And I thought that was the most fascinating thing about the way we approached the first half yesterday, because we essentially said, we're not going to play midfield. Fulham were absolutely trying to get us to play midfield. If you look at the way that they were set up, they were all very narrow. They were there to try and stop Trent getting on the ball and doing what he was doing, essentially. So that's why Trent decided to go even further back in between the centre halves, or maybe stay further out of the press, out wide. But Fulham were trying to get us to do exactly what we did in the 40th minute, which is play the ball into Endo. He gets turned over, and then they rush on us. And we were like, no, we're not having that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go old school. We're going to go play the ball into the channels, and then we're going to let the press and the counter press be the playmaker, which is what we always used to do back in the early times. And it worked. That was the most noticeable thing for me. We were able to win the ball back quickly, and that allowed us to get up the pitch. So we had two methods of getting up the pitch. It was either playing the ball along into Diaz as the out ball and coming out to into the centre forward position, or just playing it up there and then press up there. So you had Harvey Elliott basically running around in the centre forward position, just pressing people, and we were able to win the ball back and start from there. And again, it feels like we kind of evolved beyond that over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, but the way we were at the moment and the confidence of form we're at, it's like, no, back to basics. And damn it, it worked.
It worked. And I think this, to me, Rob, this is given the recent situation, given the recent performances, the recent results, and let's be clear about this, they're excellent first half away at Manchester United. They just don't get the second goal. They do more than enough to equalise against Palace, but we're all furious about it, given the nature of the fact that they've got themselves yet again behind. So the opportunities are there and they go from there. You're then in a situation where, they're terrible for 90 against Atalanta, and they have a really bad second half against Atalanta as well, really. So none of this is perfect, but none of it's quite as bad as we felt. But I think the feeling is massive. And Arsenal had won the night before against a Wolves side that had a 15-year-old on the bench, because Christ, do Arsenal play everybody at the right time. It's a stunning trick they've got this season. They always manage to play everybody at the right time. But they got the points on the board. City had won the semi-final insofar as that mattered. I don't think it necessarily did. But we knew we had to win. And to me, that's, I don't think they necessarily do hold the nerve very well just before the break, but they really hold the nerve second half, and I think that's admirable.
Yeah, there's not a loss. The goal's a mistake, but there's not a loss of nerve, I don't think. And it coming into that game, I thought there is going to be a final rock upon which this season flounders. It looks like it's looking that way. It's looking like that's going to happen. And I thought this is probably going to be now, sooner rather than later. I've done an entire 180 this morning, and
No shit.
I'm up for
Not you.
I'm up for the cup. Whatever, bring it on. I don't know. I mean, I might be saying it after 20 minutes at Goodison on Wednesday night with my head in my hands. Who knows? I fucking hope not. But I don't know, Neil. Where are we going with this? Hooray for everything? We're back in the title race.
Well, we are obviously in the title race because we're level on points with the team who were top.
Yeah.
So you can't say.
Well, we're saying we were never that bad.
Yeah,
in the run into that. Yeah. I mean, there was that stat, wasn't it, just before the Atalanta game, that we'd had an XG of 9 in 3 games and scored 1 goal. Isn't that right? That's the first Atalanta, the Man U, and the Palace, which is insane.
In this game, though, we only had 1 XG.
Yeah.
And Fulham were 0.8.
Did we?
Yeah.
1.38.
Fulham were 0.8. So this was a really tight game.
But that's the thing for me. I think
It didn't feel like it because of the goals, though.
I think the concentration was more on the other end rather than the forward end. And I think maybe that was a method to try and take some of the pressure off the forwards. Because as you say, the processes were good. We were creating the good chances, but the forwards weren't putting them away. And sometimes that's psychological, sometimes that's confidence. But by kind of taking that out of the equation, because large parts of that game, there was no centre forward really. You had Gakpo wide left, you had Diaz wide right, you had Elliott and Jota basically just harassing centre halves. They weren't there in positions to try and score goals. They were just there to try and win the ball back. And it was almost like, okay, we start from here and then eventually we get to over there. Like the last bit of the first half, one thing I did notice watching it back this morning, we have to give Fulham a tiny bit of credit. Like there was the moment where they had the break and then Quansel went down and got injured. Marcus Silva got a note on, and I noticed that they were all kind of huddled around this note reading it, and then suddenly they went from being a 3-3 to a 4-2, and they spread out a little bit, and it made it a little bit harder for us to play out. And I do think that had an influence on the last part, but yeah, smarter heads could have got around that, and I think we're probably going to come on to that, aren't we?
I think just a small note again. I think on XG where it can get distorted is, regardless. Say you romp into it. Well, eventually we go 3-1 up, don't we? But all the XG on the goals that take us there are quite low XG. Mm-hmm. But you immediately have no imperative to score anymore. Your only aim is to kill the frigging game.
Liverpool only have one more shot on the 90th minute from Elliott after the Jota goal.
Sure, but there's no need to.
Exactly, that's the point.
If the game's 2-2, we probably end up with an XG of 3. Do you know what I mean?
No,
it's perfectly possible.
It's game state, and that's the point of that. But that's why I think they're impressive yesterday is they get themselves into a really good position around us. Let's go back to the thing. The scoreboard works for them, and they make it work for them, and they go from there. There are, big games, big moments out there. Gakpo doesn't score. Jota does. But Gakpo gets 4 shots away. And I think that's no bad thing. Your point before that he wasn't playing like a conventional centre-forward, but he still gets himself 4 shots away. A couple of them are good efforts as well, decent efforts. Yeah. And Jota does score at the moment where maybe you're just thinking, I'd like a bit more Diogo Jota in this game, and there he is, and it's absolutely perfect. He was just about to get substituted as well for perfectly, he's done 70 minutes at that point, but you were just beginning to think, I tell you what, Jota's not really made his presence felt, and then there he is making his presence felt.
And that's the classic Diogo Jota though, isn't it? It's almost like we forgot that that's a part of him as much as the scoring goals, is that he just comes out of nowhere and scores these goals. But I give him a little bit of credit because, again, you could see the work he was doing for the team. It almost felt like it was a conscious plan. It was like, your job in this team is to hurry Fulham, is to make them have no time so they play bad balls. And if you look at for the free kick that Jota wins, that comes from the first goal, that comes from Gakpo being out on the far left corner, nicking the ball off Iwobi and starting a counter-attack. And you almost sense like Klopp had given them so many other jobs other than try to score a goal, that it's just like, just concentrate on doing this. If you do this, then the process will allow us to get into position. And that was almost like, if you build your confidence doing the dirty work right, then you can finally get into good positions and get some benefit from it. And I think Gakpo did that. It was a game where I felt like he used his physicality better than I've seen him for a while. He looked like a guy who was as big as he is. He fought through a couple of tackles. Like, again, for the one where he sets up Jota, he fights through the tackle and he retains the ball, and obviously he plays a nice ball through to Jota.
Do you see what Klopp said about Gakpo after the game? I think it's, again, quite interesting. Yeah. He said he'd come back from an injury, hadn't he? Actually, I don't know if he had an injury. He said the last 4 or 5 games he's not been injured, but he's not been quite right. And I think he wasn't just saying he's not on form. There's something he hasn't been 100% fit. And although it was perhaps many of us were harsh on him in the previous part of the season from not being involved in games. And I don't want to go 180 the other way and go he's absolutely brilliant at the moment. It is clearly we are seeing much, much more like the Gakpo we saw last season now.
It's good that he gets shots away for me.
That's a key metric for him. Any forward.
It's an old Firmino point, which is that people would say, Firmino's still contributing, he's doing this, that or the other. But he ultimately just wasn't playing as well when he wasn't getting shots away. For me, Firmino's best games, for me, will always coincide with when Firmino was also scoring some goals. And then the manager would come out when he wasn't and say, well, Bobby's not here to score goals, he does other things. But I'm like, he does all the other things better when he's scoring goals. If you're a forward, Gakpo doesn't score in this one, but at least he gets his shots off, Josh. And for me, you're then walking away going, it's a good performance. He wasn't just at the periphery.
Yeah, well, that's why I was a little bit critical of him on the back of the Atlanta side. The 2 legs, because over the course of the 180 minutes, he doesn't have a single shot. And I think if you look at, a forward within the context of a football match, on a forward's to-do list, mate, at the very top, absolutely miles away from anything.
Put boots
else,
on, shoot.
Is score goals, mate, and you score goals by taking shots. That's like absolute top priority. So, you've got to be doing an awful lot in the other departments, like Firmino level, to be getting away with that top priority as don't worry about that. If you're a forward, mate, you've got to be delivering that. So, for Gakpo to turn up in that sense in this game was good. And I think Mo made the point before about his physicality. I thought I was impressed with his defensive game in this match. I think he put a foot in a fair bit and regained the ball, and it feels like a lot of our kind of opportunities from high turnovers stemmed from Gakpo putting a foot in, regaining it, robbing his man and then playing from there. But I do think he can improve and things like that still. I still think he's got that in him, to go certainly one better. But the fact he's involved at the business end, and he did look more... I haven't entirely bought this, he needs to play on the left, but in this game I did feel like just him receiving the ball, it did look a lot more natural for me when he was receiving the ball on the flanks, knowing that there's no one behind him and stuff, and then kind of driving inwards, and it looked like he was accustomed to doing it. It looked like he'd been doing it for a while. So it's interesting to keep an eye on him, because he's definitely improved lately. But it's above all else, as you say, it's nice to see him getting shots away this time.
I think there was a purpose about him as well. And sometimes you see where he'll take a shot because he hasn't got anything else in his mind. It's just like, well, I'll just shoot here. But the one in the first half, just after the goal, where it was a really good save, you can say he was absolutely trying to put it exactly where it was. It was like, this is my opportunity to shoot. The one in the second half where he tries to do the goal that he scores against Man United, where he kind of tries to fend it into the corner. It's not a good attempt at it, but you can see what he's doing. He's confident enough to say, this is my chance to do my shot. And that's building. And you're right to say that scoring goals and shooting is at the top of the priority list, but I do think there's a certain element of, whether it's the manager or whether or not it's them saying, well, look, there is so much pressure and psychological weight around that part. If you start building confidence in the other bits, then maybe when you get to that part, you'll feel a little better with yourself. And I think that's what we saw yesterday.
With Jota, Josh, there's something he does when he gets through into that sort of situation where, first and foremost, he's very, very good at not necessarily hitting the pure corner, not the postage stamp. I think he's just good at the vicinity of the corner, and I think that makes a massive difference, because it makes goalkeepers, and I think the Fulham goalkeeper is he's a perfectly adequate goalkeeper, but he should probably save the Jota effort. But he doesn't, and the number of times goalkeepers don't save things that they should was underestimated. So, Jota puts it in that vicinity. I think he's got that real little knack, and this always makes you sound like a bit of a bellend when you say it, but I think he's able to shoot heavy, if you know what I mean. Like, he's able to almost, like, there's something else on the ball that makes it a bit harder to deal with as it comes through, and it's not just as simple as hitting it really hard. There's something else in there, and then it's in the back of the net, and it really is one of those, you can see exactly immediately what it meant to him, gets substituted straight away. But the other part of it is he really reminds me of that mentality of, well, if I haven't scored, I haven't done my job today, and so therefore he scores, makes it 3, and he's done his job.
Yeah, I thought it was absolute vintage Jota performance, to be honest, where he's like largely anonymous, really, a little bit missing, and then pops up with a moment where it's low XG, it's not an ideal location, it's with his weaker foot, and he finds a way to find the back of the net with it, and it keeps under the goalkeeper, I think. And I think he benefits as well from taking it early. I don't think the keeper entirely expects the shot to come, and I think if that's one thing Gakpo can probably learn from. To be honest, I think Gakpo's a better connected with the ball. I think it gets more velocity on his shots and things like that. But you can read more when Gakpo's going to shoot. I think with Jota, it's a lot more like, it's a snapshot, and you're like, before the keepers even realise it's an off the post type thing. So, he's just a master of delivering with those moments. And I think we've said it before, but the number of times he gets you to that 2-goal cushion, yeah. It feels like it's all the time. It's always Jota. It's always Jota giving you that breathing space where you're like, right, we've won the game now. Thanks.
There's a reason for it, though. I think he needs that extra little bit of space. I think he comes into his own in that bit.
Yeah.
When we see him he's not a player who works when he's denied space. I mean, I think one of the reasons Klopp really loves him particularly is he's never afraid to lose the ball. When in forward positions. And when it works, it's fantastic. His goal against Chelsea earlier this season, the first goal.
When it just surges.
It was just the quintessential. But if you actually watch every Jota game, he tries to do that every single game, and he just loses the fucking ball. But we don't. Klopp doesn't mind that. You see that Trent interview on the Overlap the other day with Gary Neville, and he talks about it was drilled into us. Do not worry about losing the ball in that part of the pitch. Absolutely not. That's opportunity, not cost. I think what Jota does is like all instinctive finishers do. I'll use the F word again, the Fowler comparison. He does understand the geometry of the goal and how you approach the goal. It's like a computer game player. I've watched that goal back and back in. The reason the keeper gets a bad touch on it is because I think you said, he doesn't know when that ball's going to be struck. He feels instinctively, he's got the ball, forward's got a minuscule amount of seconds before he shoots. I know when I'm going to dive, but Jota just, in microseconds, he hesitates. Or it does the same thing to the defender. He shouldn't be able to get the shot off, never mind the keeper save it, because he's being shepherded away, but he just pauses the defender, pauses him, waits a second, and then goes across. And obviously, unlike in the instinctive finishers, in his mind's eye, when he visualises that goal, it's all about side netting triangle, isn't it? That's why he's accurate. And that kind of finisher is, even if they're not as naturally adept as, say, a Gakpo, or even a Nunes is sort of the opposite. I think Nunes, he's got a gem of a foot in the way he can wrap his foot around the ball and the types of finishes he can do, but he doesn't see the picture of the goal. Well, the evidence isn't there yet in the same way that Diogo Jota does.
Gravenberch, Rob, starts well. He then fades a little bit as we approach the half. He's fine at the start of the second. The goal goes in. He has 10-15 minutes afterwards where he looks absolutely full of confidence and plays ever so well. And you can also see what it means through the reaction of his teammates. I think the goal, not just the idea that it's 2-1 to Liverpool, but that he's scored it. I was surprised when people were saying, I'm not disputing it, that it's his first league goal of the season. In my head, that wouldn't have been the case, but there it is. And I think it could prove valuable in terms of not just his contribution on this day, but his contribution in the remaining games as well.
It's his fourth goal of the season, though, isn't it? All in. And it's not like the other games are Mickey Mouse games. And to be honest with you, he's probably lined up in similar strength Liverpool teams the times he scored those other goals. So I don't even want to diminish him by saying it's his first league. Or it's his fourth goal. And for a young midfielder who's come into his first season and has not been a regular pick and has had injuries, I think that's really creditable. I think as fans, we don't quite realise. I think the manager rates him a lot more than people understand at the moment. I think there are games where we come out of games and go, I don't know what Gravenberch did there. I mean, do you remember the Man U game in December? It was the 0-0. Gravenberch comes off. Does he come off with an injury or something? But Klopp says the game changes when Gravenberch goes off, or is it when he comes on? It's one of the two anyway. I think it's when he goes off. I think he thinks he's a really important player. And he's a really, really young player. We have to remember that, who didn't play hardly any football last season. People are saying he needs a pre-season. I think he needs a run of games. He needs to mature. But, that's no small thing, that goal yesterday, and not just in the context of our season. Is it the quality required to do that's ridiculous? We talk about Jota's calmness in the moment. To go that calm and just pick a spot, it was an elite finish. I know you were saying earlier, Josh, that City and Arsenal seem to have their goals more programmed and ours are a bit more chaotic. I do think they both seem to score goals from distance more than us, though, even if they work for that. And I don't think we have had enough of that in our locker this season. I mean, apart from the wild game, both games with Fulham aside, I can't really, and the odd Soboslai, thunderbolt. I can't think of us doing that enough. So it's good to see players having the confidence and the technique to execute that once in a while. It's
outside the box, but it's worth saying, and I'm very anti-shoot. But I'm absolutely fine with quality players striking from the D.
Yeah.
I think if you're in the D, you're outside the box, but you're in the D. As far as I'm concerned, that's still a good place to. You're 20 yards out, and guess what? You're a really, really good footballer. If you see you can kick a ball, and for
Back
me,
yourself,
that's I'm not that. I think it's interesting that because I think that is the sort of goal. I do sort of agree with you that you see. For instance, I mean, last season Gundogan was an absolute. Well, for the last couple of seasons at City, he was an absolute menace at them. Gundogan 20 yards out. Rodri does a little bit, but I'm absolutely fine. It's 20 yards. It's 20 yards between the sticks.
Yeah.
There's no one in front of him, is what I would also point out. Really, they're not near him. I think that you've got Tosin and Bassi are sort of in the vicinity, but one's worried about Jota. The other one's just sort of having. I think that's there to be struck. And to strike it excellently is brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going back to the City, I think Foden's got like 6 from outside the box, and they're all very similar. Where it's he makes his mind up very early and commits to it and strikes it well, and that's exactly what Gravenberch does. I think it's fascinating as well that the chance comes from him losing the ball and then us winning it back immediately. And again, it's that broken play element where, like what Rob was saying, that sometimes us losing the ball is actually part of the plan, and just to kind of get them in a little bit less structure in their defensive setup. And we had that. Elliott won the ball back. He played it straight into Gravenberch. Gravenberch saw the space, was decisive in what he wanted to do, and he executed it perfectly. And it's mad the way that the second and third goals are scored by people who were literally about to be substituted, and how that little bit can change so much. You talk about the reaction of his teammates, the reaction of him, the reaction of us to him, and all of those things. Just buying him a little bit more time to be able to build his way into the side. And I think he suffers from the things that he does bad are probably more easily highlighted. So the first half where he has the bad touch that causes a free kick, compared to the things he does well, which I think he really did a good job of closing down the space and not allowing Fulham's central midfielders to win the ball back from us as much as we were winning it back from them. But that goal will be so big for him. He'll be able to sit down and think, right, okay, I've contributed now. And when he comes off the bench on Wednesday, which I assume he probably will, he'll come off the bench with confidence that he can go out and contribute again.
I think it was interesting as well that all 3 of our goals were scored by lads who were basically been a bit detached from our recent finishing woes. If you think of Trent, Jota and Gravenberch, none of them have really been a part of this run where we just cannot finish our dinner, and it's been very Salah, Nunes, Diaz has been involved with it, Szoboszlai's been involved with it. These were 3 I felt kind of came in and weren't really shouldering that burden.
Hey Josh, what about Jota's effort at Palace second half? I wanted his head on a plate. But I know you are right broadly, but they're all...
Jota's a bit... I mean, I think Josh has been involved a bit with it, to be fair, but certainly Trent and
no, you are right. Your point's right.
Yeah, I've been definitely detached from it. So, it's nice to see the goals go in.
By the way, talking of that goal at the Palace game, did anyone see Palace yesterday? The goal that they conceded in the last minute, where Henderson just decides to let the ball go under his foot. Like, they weren't doing that against us.
No, but they were very ahead, to be fair.
If we lose this title to City by anything, that's less than a point, that Palace game is going to haunt me. It's haunting me already, that game.
It's good to see you getting it out the way.
It's the most... if I can just digress again on this slightly, I was going to talk about this on the overview show. I think the amount we got in our own heads on that 0-0 at United, or even the cup defeat, the amount we allowed us as a wider culture, and I think the players too, allowed that to be a bigger deal as it was, fed into the bullshit that allowed us to not at least draw, if not murder, Crystal Palace. Keep doing my head in that.
Okay. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Josh, is just a unique proposition. I feel as though, because it sounds as though you're going to overstate it, because first and foremost, I don't think it's stated enough outside of these sorts of conversations, number one, but also number two, because the extent to which he is a unique proposition in terms of his gifts, allied with his coaching, allied with his tactical nous, in there is nothing like him on the planet. And people can listen to that. As I say, I do think that at times people listen to that going, but what is it that you mean when you're saying that? I think it's just an overwhelming display, again, of being able to shift the ball 60, 70, 80 yards in a way that just goes almost beyond the phrase pinpoint accuracy over and over and over again. I think he tires a little bit in this one, but for 60 minutes, he is absolutely impeccable and he gets the goal.
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing a piece on him actually today. It's going up later, but, just the ability of him, as you say, he is unique. I think that's probably the best way of describing him. And he's got to a point in this scene where over time he's got more and more power naturally, and I think he's at a point now where it feels like he's borderline just getting put out there, and Klopp's kind of trusting him to just interpret the game as he sees fit, and just impact the game as he sees fit almost. Like there was points yesterday where he was picking up the ball as the central man in the back three. Yeah. And just kind of dictating from there, in all different directions. And I think even when he's pressurised, he has this. I think I picked up on it against Atalanta as well. Obviously, a man marking scene where he's just not phased at all. Now sometimes that casual approach can sting him a little bit. I think there's one or two of them every now and then, but for the most part, just his level of composure on the ball is, on a different level to anyone else in Liverpool's deeper areas. I think McAllister's not far off, to be fair, but he's so comfortable on the ball, and his passing range gets you to all different kinds of spaces. And I think as offensive as Conor Bradley's been since he came in, certainly useful in the final third and things like that, Trent just gives you that, really different option of being able to play the last pass from virtually anywhere. At the drop of a hat, you're in on goal. And I think sometimes as well, his ability, his tendency to try these things can get you stung the opposite way, and that's where you need that balance maybe of the safety net around him and stuff like that. But as a kind of break glass option who can just, deliver in certain moments and score a free kick like he scored, he is a one-off, and it's going to be interesting. I think above everyone else, I think to see him under the next manager, and just to see how he interprets a skill set like that, it's because it feels like Klopp's kind of looking at him and going like, the worst thing I could do here is give him a fixed role, and the best thing I can do is just let him play almost. It'd be interesting to see him under someone like a Pep, for example. I think Pep would be the opposite with that. I think Pep would be very, this is what you do because you're boss at it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them.
They would do each other's head in. I guarantee they would do each other's head in. It's funny because I was thinking, watching the game, Neil, when we did Talking Reds a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about him being the third of the centre-halves under Amorim, and everyone in the comments losing their minds saying, well, how can you have him as the third centre-half? Because if you've seen him defensively, etc., etc. It's not about him being there. It's not about him starting the game alongside two centre-halves. It's about him finding the space wherever it is. And part of this freedom that he's been given is because it makes it harder to game plan against him. And you can tell that because Fulham had totally packed the centre of the pitch trying to say, we're not going to allow him to do the inverted thing. We're not going to allow him to kind of come into that space and start busting it around. So what does he do? He goes deeper. And then he does it from there. And then they try to block that. So what does he do? He goes out wide and he does it from there. The point is, as you say, he's intelligent enough to see what the opponents are giving him and know how to manipulate it from there. And the other thing we have to remember is the fact that he is a ridiculous goal threat for a defender. So 73 goals and assists since the 17-18 season. So since the start of Salam Ali Firmino, basically.
Isn't it 100 in his career now?
Yeah, we're close to 100 now if you include England and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in that period of time, the next nearest outside of Andy Robertson is Marcus Alonso with 31, and he's got 73, more than double. So he's doing things that no one else is able to do on such a high level that teams are having to basically shift their whole entire game plan to fix it, but he's still able to manipulate around it.
Marcus Alonso had twice as many if Trent Alexander-Arnold played right wing back when he played left wing back, and he attacked that back post like an absolute demon. Marcus Alonso header back post, absolutely loved it in there. On it, Rob. I think he has 45 against Atalanta. and then tires here. He
Yeah.
has 60 against Fulham and then tires. I think he has to start every game, so I don't think there's the option of niceties. I think he's just got to grit his teeth and get through this week. If we can get through this week with the 2 more wins and the 2 more away games, we should then have a 90-minute Trent Alexander-Arnold for the last 3 games of the season. And for me, that could just be, I think it's already being a game changer for us. I think that could just be a game changer if we can have him at that level for 90, which is what we had before January. Yeah,
we've only got to, we've got to get him through the next 2, and then it's full week breaks between those last 3 games. So it becomes less of a dilemma. In fact, you can go 3 exact 11s after that. I agree with what the boys have been saying about his role. The more I think about it, it is just purely a free roll. On the ball, it's a free roll. It's going to go wherever you damn well like. And as you said, Mo, as deep as you like, but I also, as much as the switches and the free kick, I love that ball inside the fullback to Luis Diaz in the first half that gave Jota a really quite serviceable chance that he scuffed. But that comes from getting into a sort of right midfield position at that stage. Though the assist,
it's a lovely little ball.
It's incredibly weighted ball, amazing weight. There's a way to try and get behind a low block. The precision required to get someone in behind there. Getting someone in behind there is ridiculously difficult to do. We saw in the week against Atlanta, he does the old-fashioned overlapping fullback, him at his best Beckham-type ball in to get the penalty. He's showcased everything in his talents. There's that ball inside we just talked about. The free kick is as good a free kick as he's ever taken. And then there's about 8 switches in the course of the game, which are insane onto people's toes. I do wonder where a new manager will play him, but I do think it's almost anywhere you damn well like. You just put him on. All you've got to wonder, you've almost got to lay out your team. Here's 10 players. You work out the geography of the pitch. They've got to cover this much of the defensive line, midfield, etc. Now put Trent anywhere you fucking well like and let it run. And that's kind of what we're doing. Trent's therefore ends up being a bonus in defence as well. People like to look at him as a liability in defence. I think he's a bonus in defence because he shouldn't ever have to be anywhere that's mandated defensively.
Excellent stuff. We're going to talk about Harvey Elliott in a second or 2, but before then, Peter Kenny-Jones came in to talk about his book Sweeper Keeper last week. I need to apologise to Peter because he actually came in a few weeks before then to talk about his book Sweeper Keeper, but we lost the files. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, to be quite honest with you, so he had to come back and he was a gentleman about it, so thank you very much to him. So off the back of that, simply do buy his book because, that's being on Team Sound.
The least you could do.
Yeah, indeed. Joined by the excellent Peter Kenny-Jones to talk about his new book about Tommy Lawrence. It's called Sweeper Keeper, Tommy Lawrence, the story of Liverpool and Scotland's flying pig. It's out now, and let's start with the title of it, to be honest with you, Peter, because it's everyone acts all the time as though there's new things in football, and of course every now and again there is, but it was Shankly, he was one of the first to innovate in terms of the way you use your goalkeeper. And to do that, you had to have the goalkeeper that you could do it with, and that was Tommy Lawrence. And the 2 of them, from when Tommy gets his first game, the 2 of them dovetail absolutely brilliantly. He's so important to him.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, but he was such a trendsetter, as you say. He's such a unique player. I've been lucky enough to have a couple of launches, and I think George Sefton said a while ago Pep Guardiola was claiming he invented the sweeper keeper, and that made him infuriated at home. But Shankly saw what Tommy was doing in training, playing with all the coaches in the games where they can famously never lose. Yeah. And then Tommy basically had to help the older blokes come off his line, and then you can just see something must have clicked and call him into his office and say, we're going to try this at Anfield. And we saw how hard it was for the likes of Joe Hart a few years ago, if we're going to City, how hard it was for them to do it. Tommy just took like a duck to water and changed goalkeeping.
It was one of those where part of it was how much he enjoyed it. He enjoyed being part of wanting to play in that sort of way, and it comes through in the book that it's funny, there's a bit of conflict obviously when he goes away and does international stuff around that as well, but he enjoyed that idea of playing, being part of the team, and as I say, that's part of a decision Shankly made to change Liverpool's approach.
Yeah, well, I think all keepers are crazy, what they say, and all keepers think they can play out, and that was probably more the second half was more true with Tommy, but yeah, he was confident to come off his line, and don't forget, of course, this is a day where you just pass it back to the keeper, he picks it up. There's no need for him to be great with his feet. If he did get the ball, most of the time he was sweeping, he was just getting rid of the ball for them, but yeah, he had that confidence to think, I can do this job. There have been a lot of players players who said, I don't fancy this, but he, as you say, just took to it straight away. And I think it was Joe Mercer who gave him the name Sweeper Keeper, and that's how unique and different it was. He didn't even have a name, whatever he was playing. He was just being Tommy Lawrence and setting the standard for other goalkeepers.
As part of that, that whole era, that sort of that sweep that goes through Lawrence before Clements gets himself into Liverpool's first team. They go abroad, do excellently in Europe, a couple of league titles in there as well, FA Cup in '65. He ends up playing a massive part. It's a hell of a number of games. I'm sure you know how many it was, but it's an unbelievable number of games for Liverpool in there as well. And he was effectively the backbone for Shankly's first team.
Yeah, 390.
There you go.
But he came into the team. I think it was perfectly timed that Liverpool were on the brink of becoming, from second division obscurity, into become one of the best teams in the country. And we all know that run, winning the second division, win the first division, win the FA Cup, win the first division again, and Europe's robbed off them by Inter Milan, robbed the '65 cup with his cup final. There's all stuff that worked against that team having the European title. To probably arguably say they're the best team that the club's ever had, because to do the first of everything was pretty remarkable. So yeah, and Tommy was part of that team for the whole reign, and you need that trust off Shankly, who's one of the greatest we've ever had, and Tommy had that fully.
How'd you come to write the book then?
Well, I was lucky enough that his family approached someone else. I got drafted in, but I'm more than happy to be the super sub on this one. But yeah, they just wanted his legacy to be continued. I was actually still finishing my last book at the time, so I wasn't really looking for something. But when something like Tommy Lawrence's life comes on, and as we already discussed, this team, this era, Shankly, it was too good not to say yes to.
And when you were looking through the Scottish elements, because I think that is an interesting part of the way in which his career develops, did you find that trickier to do? What would it obviously be in, up the top of the country and all that sort of stuff, and less sort of to hand, in terms of your own background as a Liverpool football historian? Yeah,
well, he only made 3 appearances, so to find people who played in those games is hard. Frank McClintock spoke to me, but he didn't even really remember the games because they were that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say insignificant because obviously they were massive, but what Tommy's record for Liverpool, he never got injured. He never missed an FA Cup game for 9 years.
Yeah.
And in one of his 3 games for Scotland, he gets injured. So like the sod's law of that happening, he goes off at half time against Wales. He gets concussion, and I think he dislocates his finger. That was just so unlike him, unlike what they'd seen at Anfield. And every manager at that time at Scotland, it was basically just a merry-go-round. They picked a goalkeeper, they stuck with him. Tommy never really got that chance to impress, and any time he did get a call up, he said he was unlucky. He also played against West Germany, and Gerd Muller scores against him. So he's got massive tasks, but he still has those 3 caps. He was capped, and in those days it was so much harder if you were from England to play for Scotland.
And as part of the whole thing, you'd also looked at his life after he finished in football.
Yeah. Well, Liverpool were horrible to him, basically. Played just short of 10 years.
Didn't get a testimonial, did he?
Didn't get a testimonial. His best mate, Roger Hunt, who he grew up with in the same village, they went through the youth teams together. He got a testimonial, paid for his house, made the rest of his life comfortable. Tommy didn't get one. He was loaned to Tranmere in the hope that he came back for European games to help Clement in case he got injured. They then promised that they'd give him a testimonial, which is already bad enough, no slight on Tranmere, because he should have had an Anfield testimonial, but he was just forgotten about by both. Football ends, the income's not there, he's still buying everyone a pint, still putting a bet on, hasn't got the income to support it, and basically led to his life being turned upside down, lost his family, lost his house, lost pretty much everything, and had to start again. All because Liverpool couldn't go, you know what, you were one of the best goalkeepers we've ever had, you've won everything with us, and here's a testimonial game to say thank you, but that they never give it to him.
A lot of that is part of that era where, for instance, there's lots of documented stuff about Shankly finding it really, really hard to let players go on the one hand, but then on the other hand, as soon as you were gone, you were so gone. I mean, there's documented stuff around Shankly finding it difficult post-74 himself, with his sort of general treatment by Liverpool and a couple of instances the wider football fraternity. It really was quite ruthless. I think in a lot of minds' eyes, there's a real sort of romanticism about the way in which it was back then, but it really was ruthless for a hell of a lot of players, not just Tommy.
Yeah, well, as you say, falling off a cliff, your career just stops, and then you think, I'll get a few tickets, I'll get offered this, but most of them were just, that's you done, nice one, thanks for giving 10 years of your life to help us win everything, see you later on to the next one. And yeah, Tommy's legacy continued through Ray Clements, because he taught him so much, and they both say that Ray wouldn't have been good without him, but even that type of impact, he was just, at the same time, though, it is important to mention that Tommy, I think, was a bit too proud. I reckon if he had been knocking on doors and saying, oh yeah, I need a testimonial, it probably would have happened. But, you know, he shouldn't have to be doing that. And just the club, countless occasions, unfortunately, did let a lot of people and players down.
In general, did you enjoy writing the book?
Yeah, it was. I said they're a bit stressful, I'm sure, as you know. But once you're done, and then you feel like you have 6 months to a year where no one knows that you've done it, and then suddenly you forget about the book, and then everyone cares about the book again. But yeah, it's, that relief and then the pride of having it. And I said, we've had the launches, and I've had like 6 of his ex-players coming and his family, and we did one in his pub he used to drink in, and so you sat there in your garage in your Homer Simpson slippers at 4 in the morning, go, well, why am I doing this? And then you suddenly write out, well, past Pete had to put some hard work in for this current Pete to enjoy what was going on.
There we are. Buy Current Pete's book, Sweeper Keeper. Definitely worth getting hold of. A pleasure to have him come and join us on this little bit of an insert for the Anfield Wrap. Do check the book out. Do check all of Pete's work out as well. It's very, very good indeed. You will not be disappointed. Great stuff from Peter there. I've got Josh with us, who is the author of Data Game, another book that is out recently. Doing all right?
I think so.
You never find out, do you? They never tell you.
Well,
it's like medieval stuff.
Yeah. Everyone keeps asking me this, but
you don't know.
I deliberately haven't even asked, by the way, as well, because I keep saying.
I thought you were just the analytics.
Well, I am.
You know what the numbers were saying.
I usually am. Yeah, I usually am. But I think if I was a player on the pitch, I don't think I'd want to know my numbers, because I'd be like, well, if they're not very good, I mean, it's But to be fair, I wouldn't know what's good and what's bad.
No.
It's my first book, so if they say you've sold 4,000, I'd be like, have I?
Is that strong XP?
Exactly.
You'd be saying,
is that more than Harry Potter?
I believe that did well. So anyway, if you want to have an evening with Josh Williams, it says here, it's Wednesday.
An evening with Josh Williams.
It does say an evening with Josh Williams.
If you want, that's on his OnlyFans. Go on.
That was absolutely not my idea to headline at that time.
An evening with Josh Williams and me, Neil Atkinson, as well, on Wednesday the 1st of May in Waterstones in Liverpool. It starts at 6:30. It finishes at 8 o'clock, and we are talking about his book, Data Game, the story of Liverpool Football Club's analytics revolution. I've read it. It's good, which is a fucking relief. Given the fact that you sign up to do these things before that sort of... Oh, yeah, I'll definitely do that with the book. Christ almighty. No, it is very, very good indeed. So do buy it in general, but do come to Waterstones. If you go onto Waterstones' website, or you just search for it in general, I'll retweet it. I'll get the Anfield Wrap to retweet it. Josh might retweet it. He's very relaxed about these things. But it would be good if you could come down and see us. It will be a pleasure. It is on Wednesday the 1st of May. There's no game that midweek now, so you've got no excuses. Liverpool have done the decent thing and cleared our calendar so that you can enjoy an evening with Josh Williams in relative peace. 1st of May at Waterstones. It is a Wednesday. We might hang on out afterwards as well, and Josh will sign them as they go all the way through. I'll sign them as well, but you know, I'll sign anything. To be honest with you, I'm not a man of dignity. I want to talk about Harvey Elliott, Rob. I think he offers an urgency there in that game. I think if you go back to his February performances, I think it's present there too. I feel too often, and I don't want us to do it now, we often end up sort of framing any conversation around what Harvey offers in terms of sometimes what if the feeling is he doesn't. Let's forget what he doesn't. Let's talk about what he does. He moves the ball quickly. He presses smartly. He knows where he needs to be, and I think he's capable of giving any Liverpool team a 10% boost in terms of his own performance when he nails it.
It's a bit crazy for a lad who hasn't started that many, that he's one of our players of the season quietly. You know, he's in the conversation. Certainly if you're having a Young Player of the Year award, there's a lot of young players at Liverpool. He's definitely...
Harvey doesn't think he's a young player anymore. Senior pro, elevated to the captaincy in Harvey's own head.
But do you know what? Neither do innately the fans and most
his teammates.
And his teammates. Yeah. No one. I don't think he's quite 21 yet, is he, Harvey? Or
No.
So... He's still ridiculously young and he's ridiculously good. If ever there's sort of the embodiment of a footballer in this current crop who's bought into the whole Jurgen philosophy, it's him. And you could tell that he would, by the way he spoke when he first arrived. He was such a big fan and the son of a massive fan, that he was so imbued in what Liverpool were doing and what Klopp was doing. And you know, he's had periods where he's been out with injury and not getting a game, being on loan, and you get the impression he spends all his spare time watching videos of Klopp teams and go, that's what he wants me to do. That's what he wants me to do. I get the impression he's an absolute disciple, and I think if you could get Jurgen quietly, you know, to one side in a pub and say, you know, when you're not here, when you're not Liverpool anymore, what are some of the things you're going to miss or regret that you didn't continue to see through? I think one of the things he will regret not continuing to see through is the career of Harvey Elliott, because I think he'd be very excited to see where that goes. I remain very excited to see where that goes.
Me too. And it's funny because we talk about when you've got players from Liverpool in the team and how they feel it and how that gives them an extra 10% when they're out there on the pitch. I think he's the same. I think he's that much of a Liverpool fan.
Oh, 100%.
He feels it in every single similar way. And it was interesting. Obviously, it was a game where the Fulham fans were giving him the business the whole game, and I don't think he enjoyed it. I really don't think he enjoyed it, but he didn't let it stop him doing what the manager asked him to do. And I've referenced a couple of times his pressing, the fact that he was alongside Jota, pressing into their centre halves. But once the ball went beyond him, he was never out of the game. And that was another thing that I thought collectively we were really good at. If you think back to, Rob, the Palace game, the amount of times that their players had the ball with a wide open space in front of them to advance on us. That never really happened. Fulham broke a couple of times and they put a few good passing moves together, but they always had a red shirt in the face within 2 or 3 seconds. And I think he was the catalyst for that. And we were really, as a front five in particular, we were really well connected with our press, and I felt like he was the leader within that. And the responsibility that we are giving him and he is taking at this young age is still remarkable to me.
I like how, before Josh comes in, I said to you at the game yesterday, Neil, while we were watching it, his freshness is striking, his fitness. We've been used to seeing him being a 25-minute player, not many examples of what he can do over 90, but he was running around like a Duracell bunny in the last 5 minutes. And that might be because he's had this sort of run into building up through games throughout the season. Maybe this was the plan to get him peaking now, I don't know. But either way you look at it, he looks incredibly fresh and ready for it for me.
Yeah, I think his energy, to be honest, and his stamina might be like arguably his biggest trait, or certainly one of them in reference to a club team. And I remember was it the Carabao Cup final? The recent 120 minutes. He plays the whole game, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, even in like extra time, mate, when you've got like 110 minutes on the clock, he's just still pressing people and things like that. He doesn't look tired. He's still switching the play and stuff. So, full of energy and that. And I do think the Fulham crowd kind of got in his head a little bit when he was on the ball. Mm-hmm. But off the ball, committed to the cause, absolutely representing Klopp's game. I think he's got that like Lallana element about him where if he recognises, hang on, we're not putting pressure on the ball like here, he will just go and then everyone follows him then. I think Jones has also got that where you just recognise, hang on, we're Liverpool here, we're representing Jurgen Klopp, we need to press, and then everyone pushes up 5 yards, then 5-10 yards. So yeah, it feels like he's, what you're getting from Elliott usually. I think sometimes he's a bit relatively inconsistent with the ball. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get from him in that sense, but certainly without the ball, you always know you're going to get someone who's going to be really concentrated, focused, energetic, and stuff like that. And I think the inconsistencies on the ball, that will just improve with age naturally.
Yeah, I agree.
Last bit of sort of business from the game, Rob. It's another odd first half, but then strong second from Wataru Endo. And that proves okay over the course of the 90 minutes. It wouldn't have been unreasonable for him not to come out second half. We've seen that a couple of times over the course of the season. But again, the other things that we've seen at times over the course of the season when you thought he might not come out here second half, he comes out second half and puts a really, really good performance in. It's the concern, and I'm happy to frame it as a concern, is we just can't afford, got 2 big away games coming up, we just can't afford slow starting still, and that does worry me a tiny little bit. We just can't afford slow starting anywhere on the pitch really, because the last thing, for instance, we want to do is give, in fact, they're 2 quite compatible crowds in a way, but even though it's different for us going to Goodison full stop. But you don't want to give Goodison Park encouragement. You don't want to give West Ham encouragement. And I think it's going to be important that, Liverpool fix that. You can't have anyone on the pitch really who looks like for 45 minutes he can be really, really got at, especially when he mostly plays 30, 40 yards from your goal.
Yeah, the hallmark of his Liverpool first season has been his consistency up until a point, up until a very specific point. I mean, apart from, I would say, before that Man United league game, which is the turning point almost in his season for me, I could count on my hands actually the 2 occasions Endo disappointed me. Once at Palace, where he got hustled out off the ball by Will Hughes and was fouled actually. And that, in fact, I can't even remember the other one. But that is it in terms of me feeling disappointed in anything he's done. But that first half at Old Trafford in the league game, he was bloody awful. He recovers himself as he can do, and he's had very patchy form since then. And he was poor in the first half again against Fulham, giving the ball away, almost looking like playing like a player so well below his level. It was strange, like a lad who hadn't slept the night before. Well, in fact, like McAllister first half against Wolves, where he just got off a plane from South America.
Yeah.
It was that level of drop off. And as Neil's saying, we're not home to that kind of inconsistency at this stage of a title pushing season, which means that I think it probably means the knock-on effect is that McAllister may be back in the six for the run-in more often than not.
I'll be confident that he'll start against Everton, because I'm not like
Endo.
I don't think he does. No,
I think it could be a three of Mach, Jones, Szoboszlai against Everton. Like,
I think for me, it looked like Fulham's plan was around trapping him, and I think that Liverpool were aware of that and tried to kind of play around him. And I think that probably contributed a little bit to the malaise in the first half, where he wasn't quite sure what he was supposed to be doing, because our game plan was to basically not play the ball through him. He was almost a decoy a lot of the time. But then I think back to some of the things that he does, and obviously the comparison between him and João Palhinha, who was also on the pitch, who, you go back to the summer, there was lots of talk about us buying him for, 4 times as much as he would have been. So look at the duels for João Palhinha. He was in 10, he won 4. Endo was in 10, he won 3. But Endo won 3 out of his 4 aerial duels. Palhinha was only 1. They both committed 3 fouls. Endo committed 2 fouls on the penalty on the halfway line, and 1 right out on the far side. All of Palhinha's were in the D. And one of them contributed to the goal.
Yeah, we scored.
So you look at it and you say, he's not giving us what he was giving us earlier in the game, in the season. But I do also think that a part of the context of how we were playing in that game meant that he was going to be sidelined. And if you compare it to, say, we need a bigger, more dynamic version of him. Well, the guy who everyone was raving about was in that game, and he was shit as well.
All right, Everton then.
I mean, Endo was awesome against Man City just a few weeks ago. So I'm not throwing him under a bus. He can find a level.
Do you know what's interesting? No, this might just be complete, correlation type thing, but I think he struggled against United, and he struggled against Atalanta, and I think those teams are specifically man-marking. Gasperini certainly, and Ten Hag a little bit less so, but he is a man-marking kind of coach. And I think if you look at Endo, he's a good player, but he's not the type to really do his man, is he? Like first touch and stuff like that. But
doesn't like to face his own goal either.
No, but things like that. So I'm not sure that's entirely benefited him. But then Fulham, Fulham weren't really. So it could just be a link that I'm just finding there. But I think that's one of the reasons why I think getting tight to him. He's obviously not the prettiest maybe on the ball, is he? So that sort of thing.
All right, Goodison Park, off the back of a win, Rob. The pressure's alleviated for them, but this will still be perceived by them as their biggest game of the season, because it's an opportunity to undermine the mighty Reds. But they've been in a bit of a funny way. Dice actually rotates a little bit against Fulham, or maybe he just rejigs quite substantially.
Against Forest, you mean?
Yeah, against Forest, sorry. He rejigs, he finds his way through. They've actually been all right in terms of where the underlying numbers are at home over the course of the season, Everton. I think it's a tough test for us at this stage of the campaign. I think it'd be, to be fair, I actually think at this stage of the campaign it'd be a bit of a tough test for our rivals. I think that toughness is squared when it comes to the fact that the mighty's going there.
I do and
Big
I don't.
Red.
I do and
Big
I don't.
Stand FC.
I think it can become like that. I'm quietly very confident. Can you be quietly very confident?
I don't know. I want to see how you're going to do it.
I mean,
talk me through it.
Well,
not quietly though. Into the microphone.
We're miles better than them. They're doing okay, but we're miles better than them. And we just have to, as long as we're calm and find our true selves, we'll blow them off the park. It's just whether, and I think we're too late in the season, and it's too important for us to let it become a derby. I'm almost glad it's happening at this close to the business end than if it was in December or January, where I think it could feel a little bit wilder. I think whatever their position was in the season, whether they needed the points to stay up, whether it was they were mid-table, they were going for Europe, it doesn't matter. We know they will bring something if they're given any encouragement. That crowd will create an atmosphere. But quite frankly, I also think it'll be lively inside the London Stadium if West Ham go 1-0 up against us on Sunday. It'll be
Saturday.
Is it Saturday? Yeah, but I don't remember that because I'm going. Terrible mistake.
That's why I'm so urgently correcting you.
I just think they're another thing we've got to move out of the way. I don't think they're a tougher proposition than Fulham, or a better football team than them, maybe a little bit. Although I suppose by the time you add points back and deduct them, maybe they're the same. I can't tell. I just think once we have the right play, if we get our better players in the right mode, in the right form, it shouldn't be a problem. This one.
Yeah, it's tricky, this one, isn't it? I think Klopp's level of rotation against Fulham tells you all you need to know about how much weight he's putting in this game and how tricky he thinks it could be, if it goes wrong. To bench all of those lads against Fulham, even though they need a rest, obviously, at some point, but to do it ahead of a midweek trip to Goodison, in the night, I think Klopp's looking at this and thinking, this is a huge one, this. And
he's benched 4 6-footers, is what I would point out.
Yeah.
Nunez, Jones, Szoboszlai and Konate are all benched.
Yeah.
And I think that it's worth pointing out Everton, where they've been on set pieces this season, how much it's a threat. We know they'll lash them in towards that back post. That's what they do
definitely.
brilliantly. To me, it's striking that he's benched the 4 6-footers. I think that
there's a few tiddlers getting benched there as well. McAllister and Salah.
Yeah, but I think it's striking to me.
I think you're right.
I think it's striking to me that there is and listen, the other part of this is that he benches and Liverpool win 3-1. So from his point of view, it may well be, well, I didn't bench, I rotated and I picked a better team that was going to get the result against Fulham. I'm sure he thinks that somewhere, but I think it's striking to me that he does what he does.
Well, the other thing, part of that, and I mean, obviously there was a small sample size and game state matters as well, but did any of the guys who come off the bench make a case for starting? I felt they all of them who came off the bench didn't really help.
I think it's hard though, because it goes 3-1 and we don't even want another shot.
Yeah,
I think it'd be it's one of them.
I mean, Salah and Nunez in particular, we don't want another shot, but we'd actually quite like them to keep hold of the ball. And I think they complete 3 passes between the two of them in 15 minutes.
I think you can look at Szoboszlai for that as well.
Yeah,
Szoboszlai keeps giving the ball away in these terrible areas, doing me head and right. But
yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously Mac comes in. I think that's a given. I think Salah probably will come in. I think when you're looking at Konate, Nunez, and Szoboszlai, I still think there's a conversation to say it may, if they do come in, freshness. If they do come in, they have to be at a level that they haven't been previously. And again, it's harder to say that they're definitely going to based on what we saw on Sunday.
Did Gomez start somewhere?
I think Konate comes. I don't think he's going to make changes. I think he thinks Andy Robbo is a Derby player.
Yes, I agree.
I think he thinks Trent is a shoe-in. So there's no... And Van Dijk's going to play, and it feels like Konate is going to start. And Gomez hasn't played in centre-back in positions.
I was wondering if I might use him at left back or right back.
Well, I think that's Trent. One of Trent or Robbo has to go out then, and I don't see that happening.
Might use Trent in midfield.
Out and out? No, he's not going to suddenly do that. As much as I'd be excited by that, So I think just going through it rationally, decision by decision, I don't think Gomez gets a start unless he just has. I think between Everton and West Ham away, one of them he'll go, I'll do Gomez left back. One of them, but I'm not sure it'll be this one. I think he'll fancy Robbo from the get go here. I think Endo will be dropped. Sorry, go on.
I've just got a stat here that I saw during the week from
how often I'm right compared to Neil. Have they finally done the study?
It'd be fabulous if they had.
So there's no run of games in the last 2 seasons where Robbo has started 4 games in a row within 10-12 days. This would make that happen.
Has he started the last 3?
Yeah, I think he has. Yeah, so. I think with that set piece thing that you mentioned there with Dyche, I do think it is possible Gomez comes in left back and we go overload on the right side with Szoboszlai, Trent and Salah and maybe do a little bit like of an asymmetric thing maybe.
And Robertson has been useful off the bench actually, funnily enough, so maybe it's not the worst idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. My instinct is Robbo will start, but maybe not.
Yeah, it just depends how he feels, I suppose, the fitness side of it.
Manager's only won 2 Goodison derbies.
Yeah, that's annoying. It really is annoying.
But the manager's not won. The manager's won every Goodison derby in the dark.
Oh, really?
That he's played, yeah.
Oh, God, I wish I'd known that the other day when I was doing that stupid show with Ped. Yeah, to be honest, it's one of the knocks on him that for whatever reason we aren't at our best going into those games. We allow ourselves to be drawn into the fact that it's a derby rather than the fact that we're playing against a very poor team who just happen to play in blue and happen to be not from far away. I think we need to try and find a way to eliminate that.
Yeah.
As best as we can. We haven't been good at it recently, but maybe this would be the chance. I think, there are certain characters within our team who thrive in this environment better than others. Rob mentions Robbo. I'll say Jota is another one. That one, the 2 years ago, he was amazing in that game.
The 4-1.
The 4-1.
Yeah.
That was a really like a signature Jota game for me. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into or remain within the team if Salah and Nunes are the ones coming back in. But they've got some changes to make. I do imagine Onana will come back in, having sat out the entirety of this Forest game.
Maybe, but I think he might like what he saw, Dyche.
Well, yeah, he might do, but I just think that Andre Gomez feels a little bit more of a luxury against the Liverpool team than a Forest, where they probably are going to get a little bit more of the ball at home than they would do against us. So it might be that he comes in and then they make a change at some point. But I think it's going to be one where, if for example, if Endo does play, then that rate of Jules one that I just mentioned is going to need to rapidly increase.
I think the interesting question, and it speaks to your... Sorry, go on, you asked me the question, Neil.
Well, I was just simply going to ask you because there's another show in here in a second and we've been going a while. So I was going to ask you... I was going to ask you about your quiet confidence then. Are you going to give me a prediction? How's the game going to play out?
Well, I was going to give a prediction that I don't think Nunes will start because I think... I actually got this weird feeling that Diaz might go right again, Jota left and Salah in the middle, almost false niney, allowing Jota and Diaz to end up in the penalty area quite a lot. But that's my thing, and I think Nunes will be held back on the bench with Gakpo. Prediction, 3-0 Liverpool.
Ooh. What a Wednesday night.
Something to look forward to. I don't want to go, though.
It's something to look forward to. Mo?
I'm probably not quite 3-0 yet, but I do think Liverpool will win. I think it's going to be a game where we're able to flex a little bit. I do think the way that we kind of got through the mud against Fulham allows us to kind of remember a little bit of who we are, and I think we can take that into this game.
I'll go 2-0, I think, but I don't think it's going to be an easy, comfortable one. I think it'll be 2-0 because they...
88th and 89th minute, 2 goals.
Yeah.
What a Wednesday night.
I mean, yeah, I'm signing up for that. They're
the worst finishers in the league. If we think we've had a bad lately, my word.
Don't, Josh, you're jinxing this.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm just worried my worry for the game is in general... absolute dogfest. 86th minute to Corey is my genuine sort of 25 yards 86th minute to Corey, deflect off 3 on the way through, all the hits. That is an absolute dogfest is what I think is in store. It's going to be like Crufts. It's going to be absolutely horrendous. Goodison Park on Wednesday night, but they did win against Nottingham Forest. It does alleviate a little bit of that intensity, perhaps just a little bit, and Sean Dyche is nothing if not a reasonable man who has a home game against Brentford 2 or 3 days later, and I think that could be what actually helps Liverpool through this one, because Sean Dyche would like the points more than he'd like the prizes. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much to Josh, to Mo, and to Rob. It's been produced by me, actually. Well done. Normally I say somebody else, but no, me. So well done, me. Excellent stuff throughout. And if you've watched this on YouTube, Jordan Singleton has manipulated those images with aplomb. I think we will all John Moncur on that one. It's been a pleasure. It's been the Anfield Wrap. It's been a pleasure because it was Fulham 1, Liverpool 3 to set up the biggest game of our lives, and it's at Goodison Park.